So it has been out there now that Darren Wilson has married his fiancée, who is also an officer in the police department, that she is expecting, that they got married just a couple of weeks ago. But they have basically been in hiding and have had to move from their home since this has happened. And I think it's your feeling that, and their feeling that they're almost, it feels like they have been in jail because they've had to hide from the public.
Well, I don't know if you would call it in jail, but since day one, our goal was to make sure his due process rights were protected and make sure he was safe. Being a police officer, you're aware of your surroundings. Officer Wilson's now is very heightened of his surroundings. So if you want to call it being like you're in prison, that may be one analogy, but he is very aware of his surroundings, even more so today than he was 3 months ago.
He certainly doesn't have the ease to travel about as he did before this all happened. Go ahead, Neil.
No, he has had to learn to live in a way that makes him completely unnoticeable. And so as a consequence of that, you know, there are several techniques that he utilizes that make that happen. And it's an odd way to live your life, but it's for him, it's all about his family. It's all about safety. You know, when the news broke, one of the things that happened was some of the local media went to the house that they lived in. He literally had to leave that house within 3 hours. His front yard, he was cutting the grass when he found out. He had to leave the grass literally half mowed. And he had to go into hiding because there are death threats out against him. There are bounties that have been placed upon his life. I hope that none of that is true. I hope that's just vitriol. But you have to take it seriously, Don. You have to. Okay. And as a consequence, for the last 100+ days, he's lived like that.
Is he going to continue on with the police department? Because it has been said, it had been reported that he is negotiating his departure from the police department. He's on administrative leave now. Is he, in fact, doing that?
Mm-hmm. He is on paid leave right now, and there are discussions that are going forward with the department to separate from the department in an amicable fashion. We're talking about it. Realistically, Don, he can't go back to being a police officer. He knows that. There's no illusion about any of this, but it's the way in which he leaves. That's really important to him on a lot of different levels. But it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Is his legal fight over? I mean, does he have... Can he be tried civilly? Can the Fed step in now? What's next for him legally?
Well, obviously, I mean, there is a federal investigation ongoing at this point in time. So we have a civil rights charge potentially down the road. However, I think that's going to be very difficult to prove because on a civil rights violation, you must prove that he intended to violate an individual's rights, and in this case, his life. A civil suit? Yeah. We'll have to wait and see, but I would assume that's down the road.
Don, the legal issues are probably the lesser issues at this point. He still has so many other issues that he has to deal with because of all this.
Yeah. I'm always very straightforward with you guys, and I want to tell you that many people think that since they hadn't heard from him, and so they were wondering about that, and then, but that maybe there wasn't enough remorse shown or any remorse shown when he finally did speak. Can you speak to that? How he feels about that? I know you can't speak for him, but what do you think?
Let me jump out there on this for just a minute, Don, because we have talked to him about this, and he has spoken about this. You know, his remorse and his sadness about what happened is there. It's real. But again, in respect to the family, in respect to the Browns, he's been very careful to sort of stand back. He knows that whatever he says is not going to be read as he means it. And so he's thought that perhaps it's better to simply say, I'm sorry for your loss. It's simple, but it's direct. And if you knew him like Greg knows him, you'd understand that that's the kind of guy he is. He wouldn't say it if he didn't think it.